Welcome to The Explainer. I am so pumped you're here today because we are going to map out a game plan that can literally change the trajectory of your life. Look, if you read or watch any financial media, you've heard it a million times, right? The obsession with the $1 million mark, the golden nest egg, the ultimate finish line. But as your financial coach today, I gotta let you in on a little secret. That framing, it is completely missing the point. The $1 million milestone is entirely arbitrary, and chasing it blindfolded is exactly why so many hardworking young professionals just end up frustrated and completely exhausted. Okay, let's dive into this. The truth is, that $1 million milestone, it's not actually the hardest one to hit. Honestly, it's not even the second hardest. The benchmarks that actually determine whether you build real lasting wealth are almost never talked about in the mainstream media. And the specific milestone that trips up the most people? It's nowhere near $1 million. So today, we're going to expose the real numbers you actually need to be focusing your energy on. Here's our roadmap for this explainer. First, the $1 million myth. Second, a reality check. Third, milestone 1, the ignition. Fourth, milestone 2, the comfort trap. Fifth, milestone 3, financial independence. And finally, the boring truth. All right, let's get to work. Section 1, reality check, the American wealth landscape. Listen, I want to deliver some tough empathy right out of the gate here. According to the Federal Reserve's Survey of Consumer Finances, families in the bottom 25% of America, they average a net worth of negative $5,300. Negative, meaning they owe more than they own. It's a tough spot. So if you're starting from absolute zero right now, you're actually ahead of a massive portion of the country. Just look at how drastically lopsided the overall wealth distribution is. The bottom 50% of American households, they collectively own just 2.5% of the country's total wealth. Meanwhile, the top 1% owns a whopping 29%. Now, the median household net worth in America sits at roughly $192,000. So if you're sitting right at that median, mathematically, you're doing better than half the country. But, and this is a big but, you are still nowhere near the 3 vital milestones we absolutely need to hit to secure your financial future. Which brings us to milestone 1, the ignition, $100,000. This right here is the line in the sand. It separates those who build massive wealth from those who just stay stuck on the treadmill forever. If you're in the trenches right now trying to scrape together those first few tens of thousands of dollars, I want to validate exactly what you are feeling. The late legendary investor Charlie Munger famously described getting to this first $100,000 as the hard part. It is the brutal, grindy, painfully slow part where you're saving every single month, watching the market do its thing, and the number just barely seems to move. It takes immense discipline, but I promise you, you have to push through it. And this brilliantly illustrates exactly why Munger said that and why crossing $100,000 literally changes the math underneath your feet. Think about it. At a 7% annual return, which, is a totally reasonable long-run estimate for a diversified portfolio, a $10,000 account earns you a meager $700 a year in gains. But at $100,000, that exact same 7% return earns you $7,000. That is nearly $600 a month in investment gains that you didn't even have to clock in for. Your money is finally pulling its own weight. The underlying mathematical principle didn't change at all, but the practical impact, it transforms completely. What was a trickle becomes a stream. This is that magical inflection point where building wealth shifts from feeling like you're pushing a massive boulder uphill to feeling like the ground is finally starting to slope in your favor. Sadly, though, according to surveys, more than half of Americans report a net worth below $30,000. Over 30% have a net worth of 0 or less. Because of lifestyle expenses and debt, most people never cross this threshold to feel that momentum shift. But we're going to make sure you are different. All right, milestone 2, the comfort trap, $500,000. Now, as your coach, I got to give you a very stern warning here. This is the most deceptive, genuinely dangerous point on the entire wealth building journey. At $500,000 in total net worth, you're right around the top quarter of the country. You start to feel like a financial adult. You feel like you've made it. And that feeling, that is exactly what stops you from building real wealth. This is where lifestyle inflation rapidly accelerates. People trade up their vehicles, they renovate their kitchens, they start taking those luxury vacations. Because the sheer urgency of being broke is gone, their savings rates just plateau, and their investment contributions slow way down. The pure discipline that got them to $500,000 quietly fades away. But here is a massive reality check. The gap between $500,000 and genuine financial security is actually wider than the gap between $0 and $500,000. The stakes are higher now, and the numbers are way bigger. Your habits actually have to be tighter at the exact moment when almost everyone else decides to loosen the reins. This is the comfort trap, guys, and you absolutely cannot afford to fall into it. If you want proof of how crucial this is, just look at the Ramsey Solutions National Study of Millionaires. They surveyed over 10,000 American millionaires. 3 out of 4 of them said the primary reason for their wealth was regular, boring, consistent investing over a long period. No lucky stock picks, no massive windfalls, just consistency. And a staggering 94% of them said they lived on less than they earned, even after they became wealthy. The people who push past this $500,000 mark aren't fundamentally smarter than you. They just never allowed the feeling of being comfortable to replace the habit of being consistent. Which brings us to our final destination. Milestone 3, financial independence. Your personal number. This is the place that will actually change your life entirely. We're shifting the focus away from those fixed arbitrary milestones and looking at your true final destination. True financial independence is simply the mathematical point where your invested assets generate enough returns every single year to cover all of your living expenses. It is the exact moment your money makes enough money that your job becomes completely optional. You no longer have to sell your time just to survive. So the crucial point is understanding exactly how this works in practice using the 4% rule. Decades of retirement research shows that a diversified portfolio can sustain a 4% annual withdrawal pretty much indefinitely. This means your target scales strictly with how you choose to live. If you need $60,000 a year to live comfortably, your FI number is $1.5 million. But if you upgrade your lifestyle and suddenly need $100,000 a year, well, your target just jumped to $2.5 million. Your milestone is dictated by your own lifestyle, not by some arbitrary benchmark in a finance magazine. And guys, this is exactly why blindly chasing a flat $1 million is so incredibly dangerous. People chase it because it sounds wealthy, right? But they never stop to calculate if it actually covers their specific life. In fact, a recent analysis of Census Bureau data found that the entry point just to be in the top 10% of American households by net worth has quietly moved up from $1.3 million to roughly $1.8 million in just 5 years. The goalposts constantly move, which is why your own personal math is literally the only metric that matters. Section 6. The boring truth: consistency wins. Now, I know we have talked about some massive, intimidating numbers today, but I really want to reassure you, this explainer isn't here to make you feel behind. It's here to help you think clearly. The boring truth is that every single one of these milestones is entirely achievable on an ordinary American income. The critical variable isn't having some massive, ridiculous salary. It's your savings rate and your ability to just avoid panicking when the market dips. Just look at this math. Simply investing $1,000 a month at a 7% annual return for 30 years grows to over $1.2 million. That is the undeniable, totally boring truth about wealth. It is all about getting in the market and staying in the market without inflating your lifestyle. So as your coach, here is your playbook. I want you to calculate your own target today. It's super simple. Step 1, figure out what you currently spend per year. Step 2, multiply that number by 25. Bam, that is your actual financial independence target. Step 3, check where your current net worth sits in relation to it. Honestly, most people who do this math for the very first time are genuinely surprised. Either they realize they're way closer than they thought, or they realize they have been measuring the wrong thing entirely. Either way, you need to know exactly where you stand on the map. These milestones, they are no longer hidden from you. You know the ignition point. You know the comfort trap to absolutely avoid. And you have the mathematical formula for true freedom. So my final challenge to you is this. Run the math right now. Stop chasing society's arbitrary goals, take full control of your financial journey, and tell me, what's your number?